What's up, guys? Just want to make an announcement before we get to this episode that the merch store is officially live. I know you've been seeing me rock the hats, the white and the red, along with my guests, but they're now available for you guys to get your hands on some. So we got the Price to Sell baseball caps, we got the red, we got the white. On the side, they both read hashtag I sell real estate. Just in case you're in the grocery store and you're shopping and you're buying food and someone sees that you sell real estate and they say, hey, I need a realtor, I got a $58 million house to sell, right? So it's just that simple. So lead gen, whatever you call it, but you know what? They're good styles. A lot of people have been giving good reviews. And then on top of the hats, we also have hoodies just like this, white and in black with Price to Sell logo on the front, along with t-shirts. We got white and black as well. So super excited. It is all now live. You hit the links in the description. Go and check it out. And limited quantities, guys, so get on that quickly. And hope to see you guys rocking it soon. So that's it for now. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the Price to Sell podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Campoli. And today, we are changing it up again because we like to change it up here. And for all you out there that know me well, know I'm into self-development. I'm into working on myself. I'm into doing things to better myself every single day. And one of those things involved hypnotherapy. And today, I brought Steven Himelfarb, who is my hypnotherapist and really good at it.
Thank
also,
you.
Personal trainer for the mind, as you like to say.
Yes.
Right? So thank you for coming.
Glad to be here. Grateful for you to include me in this. This is amazing.
Awesome. And we're going to, he has a ton of value. We're going to relate this to real estate because in our industry, there's a ton of, we're always like fight or flight or stressing out in one way or another. Maybe we don't have deals on the table. Maybe we have too much on the table, but figuring out how to iron out the mind, balance out the mind, and calm it is very important. So we're going to take you guys through different ways of doing that. So let's start off with you, Steve. Let's, some background into who you are, what you do for everyone out there.
Gotcha. So probably back before my lemonade stand, I would say sales is kind of where it's always been. Sales executive for, let's say, technology companies. Went into incentives and I started to kind of understand people and where people are really wanting to go. And that was still for corporate and selling items, products. And doing a really great job, but I wanted to get more personal, help people. I saw there was a lot of suffering, and I just didn't really want that to happen as much. I knew there was a different option. Then for myself personally, I ended up being let go for a job where I was doing really, really well in, downturn in the economy, and then also at the same time compounding it, my dad passed. Mm-hmm. So when he passed, I kind of went down a bit of a hole. Yeah. And I didn't feel like I knew the right tools or how to do the work or what was right for me. There's a ton out there. You don't even know where to start. You're overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed, and I just didn't really feel like I knew what I was doing or even what I wanted to do. By the time I got where I could get to making changes, my wife actually, bless her heart, she suggested that I take this course with her. That course allowed me to see different tools. Hypnotherapy was that tool. And that was kind of the beginning of me becoming a hypnotherapist. Yeah. I saw what it could do for me and what it does for others. And that's pretty much the beginning of everything. Very
cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone's mentioned, but you're up there in terms of voice with Morgan Freeman.
Yep. Some people say Barry Manilow, but yes, Morgan Freeman.
You're up there.
Freeman. Yeah.
Awesome. So what is hypnotherapy?
Hypnotherapy, the best way to describe it is a technique where hypnosis is really what's happening. Hypnotherapy is the use of hypnosis, which is a heightened level of focus. And when you're in that heightened state of focus, you're more suggestible. So when you're more suggestible, that's what my job is, to take kind of what it is that you need, what you're trying to get at, and create a suggestion while in that space to help create a change in you mentally. Mm-hmm. And when that change happens, it now becomes your new approach, your new way of thinking. And that's what I'm helping you do.
Yeah,
create a change.
Yeah, and it's worked for me. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
Doing the deeper work, especially into the past, right?
Yes.
A lot of people don't know
or they may know things they've gone through, but it might be repressed and it's still affecting them to this day.
Yes.
Right. So again, I mean, this speaks to people in all industries, but let's get into a bit of that, like where people should start, or for example, the past.
Right. I think a lot of people, when they think of coaching, there's lots of other forms of help. They always think about themselves as what they need to do next. And it's do. And it's like if they're not doing enough, then they're not doing what they need to do. The analogy I've always used is, how do you put more into a full cup if your cup's already full? Mm-hmm. You need to empty it. And typically where the emptying comes from is anything that's happened before now, because now creates the past. So it's really about emptying that cup. And so in people's past, it's about giving themselves the permission and the awareness that whoever they are, whatever they've been in, is not going to help them become who they need to be to get where they're going. So it's about emptying the past. There's different aspects of that, but it's really starting with who they are at the foundation. Kind of analogy in your world, as you're emptying the cup, you're kind of either creating a foundation that never existed in who you are, or you're tearing it down, rebuilding. And like you said, it's a journey. So you're trying to kind of peel back whatever it is that you were a part of and maybe start fresh and give yourself that time, that ability to actually do that.
Yeah.
It will make you stronger. Are you looking for specifics and sort of like some tools?
Well, yeah, we can get into that. Like for people like in industry like ours, it's crazy hours, a lot of high stress, fight or flight.
Yes.
Something new every single day, the unknown, right? So
Right.
How can working on, let's say, your past help you in your day to day?
Gotcha. So most people who come to me are coming from an experience or a way of being, and they don't like it anymore. It can be an addiction. It can be something that has stopped them from getting where they're going. And really, it's about the familiar. So your brain really is a familiarity engine. It wants to do what it always has because that's kind of its program. And in our world, we talk about a lot about programs and reprogramming, rewiring. And what we're doing is reprogramming you through those suggestions I mentioned earlier. So in order to get what you're referring to, you're kind of unpacking what's happened so that you can make room in that cup. You're kind of unpacking those, figuring out what the root is and what it is that leads you to kind of carry yourself that way, to believe what you believe, to see things the way you see things. So it's about almost unpacking all of it, going back to if there's an existing trauma, or taking you back to where maybe things started, where you began an addiction, or where you chose to use, I don't know, munchies as a way to keep yourself going instead of something healthier for yourself. What do you do when, I guess, things are going well is not the same as what you do when things aren't going well, like in your industry.
For sure.
It can be really hot and then it's not. And what you do in that downtime is dependent on who you are, not what deals you have in the pipeline.
For sure. So what would be some tools then in that downtime where maybe you might pick up your bad habits or things that you might revert to, like the habits or patterns that you used in the past that weren't necessarily healthy for you in life? What are some tools to maybe stay away from that in that downtime when maybe you have too much time in your hands and you just have nothing better to do than to go back to those patterns?
Got you. So in terms of kind of eroding habits, kind of falls into the you noticing first that you have them. A lot of people don't, and it usually gets worse before it gets better. It's more the idea that you realize that maybe you're sitting on the sofa and you're not doing anything when you could be doing something productive, recognizing you actually do have time to do something better. So whether it be working out, so there are techniques, self-hypnosis, even the work that we do to allow you to be more present. And as you're more present, you're going to be more aware of what you're into. But as you're on your self-development journey, as you're focused backwards, you're going to be really trying to uncover what it is that makes you who you are. And you might be able to attest to that yourself, but you're looking, in a sense, back at who you are, and you're being honest with yourself. I think you're allowing yourself to see yourself in a very vulnerable way. You're allowing yourself to see yourself the way you are, not as you'd like yourself to be. And you're kind of having a conversation with yourself. I help you do that when you're in session with me, and it's about finding ways to visit that version of you and rejig how you think and talk and connect with that person. When you do that, you forever change that version of you and you work it forward. And that's one of the things. Self-hypnosis, as I mentioned, another great day-to-day. It keeps you present, it keeps you focused, it will help you optimize. So it's not just about, I guess you could say, it's not just about fixing the past. I think there's a misconception with that. It shouldn't just be that there's always problems.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, you're doing great. You want to make sure you keep on doing great.
For
You have
sure.
this vision for yourself. You want to build a life. How do you maintain that? And I think a lot of it is doing the inner work
Yeah.
and keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Not a one and done thing.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people think that they need to be struggling with something or really dealing with something in order to seek out this kind of work.
Yes.
Like for example, the retreat I went on Costa Rica, I was feeling good going into it, but in my head, I'm like, why not practice more things and just like, add more tools to my shed and just optimize me as a human. Even with you, certain things had to iron out, but ultimately I'm just trying to become the best version of myself. So I think for anyone out there, it's not necessarily just like you need to be in the dumps and then go and do this work, maybe to level you back out. And then maybe, you start at square one again, but why not start already at a good point and take you even further?
Well, in all fairness, good for you. Most people don't do that, though. I think the bulk of people who come to me, other agents, people of all different walks of life, they're coming at this from their life, their situation, no matter what their employment is. And really, it's something that's too much in their life that they can't handle. And they want to get away from, the idea of getting away from pain.
Yes.
So it finally gets painful enough in whatever way that it is that they just don't want it anymore. And they are going to now allow help, because if they could have done it themselves, they would have already, whether it's giving it time or not. So for them, it usually is something that is a problem. But the problem may come to me and it may be, let's say, weight loss. And if it's weight loss, it could be the way that, even if they're a realtor, they don't want to appear that way. People may look at them and they're starting to focus, in a sense, in the wrong places.
Yeah.
It's never really about weight loss. So when I speak to people, the very first thing I do is connect with them where they're at. And the very second thing I do is trying to figure out what they're really trying to get. And it gives them a bit of a roadmap. It gives them goals and other things, but it's about meeting them where they're at and trying to help them see what they're really asking for.
Yeah.
That's incredibly important, because otherwise they're putting all this effort, all this time, all this energy into, let's call it, something that's not foundational, something that's not going to move the needle, something that's not really going to help them do what they want. So they're going to do that, and it's not going to work. And then they're going to say, see, this didn't work too.
Yeah.
All the other things didn't work. And I guess this is all that there really is. This is who I am. I guess this is all there can be.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
I agree, exactly. And this kind of segues to my next question. I think belief systems are a big issue, especially in our industry. A lot of people, a lot of feedback I get is, hey, I love what you do. I wish I can kill it like you on video, or I wish I could get in front of camera like you and be comfortable like you. And I always say to them, you can though. Have you tried? No, I'm just not good at it. Are you telling yourself that, or are other people telling you that?
Right.
Oh, it's just myself. I'm like, yeah, it's you versus you.
Yes.
And I think, I don't have stats for this, but I'd say majority are like that in this business especially, and they're defeating themselves before even trying to do the things that could elevate them.
Yeah.
So what are maybe some tools that realtors can work on for belief systems to maybe break through that barrier with themselves?
Right. Back to the foundation is kind of a conversation about their beliefs. So awareness of trying to have a conversation like you would with them. Have you tried? And then once that happens, what they normally do is they divert, they tell a story, and they try to get away from it. I think sticking with it and actually allowing yourself to feel that uncomfortable feeling, digging in, doing what could be, to actually have that conversation with you or somebody else to figure out what's really going on when you start telling that story of yours. What is really there, what isn't, because that's what's shaping your beliefs. It could be something as simple as, well, you've never done it, and if you've never done it, you wouldn't be good at it. No one is. So they have a misperception that creates the belief that you're talking about. So you ask, try it, and they've already sabotaged themselves because there's something that happens before. That's what I was talking about, the foundation. They themselves don't believe in themselves, something deeper. So in order to tell them go out and try it, they're not there yet. they need to believe in themselves at a deeper level, a foundational level, so that they'll even go and try it.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, getting to the root of this, it's not necessarily do this, but the hypnotherapy work is trying to uncover it. The awareness, 50% of it is that. Then there are specific techniques. For example, there's stuff like speaking to your inner child. It may sound weird, but a lot of people you see on Instagram, what might you do if you could talk to your younger self? What would you tell them to do to put you in a better position? You can do that, but if you're just saying that to yourself consciously, it's just like right over your head. It doesn't create change.
For sure.
When you do it at a subconscious level in a hypnosis session, it hits you way different. It stays different. It will allow you to get to really what made you start this way in the first place. So inner child work, almost like you're reparenting yourself.
Yeah.
Huge tool. Other things are about, where did this start?
Yeah.
Where did you get this belief in yourself? And you follow a feeling back. So this root work that I do, which is so important for lasting change, is when you feel a certain way, like you can't do it. Where did that begin? So what I do is I really work and connect them with that feeling, because it's connected to a time before that. It didn't usually just happen that time. So I take that and I almost like follow that feeling back in time during the session to where it began. And that's where we do the reprogramming. That's how it becomes permanent. That's how you get lasting change, so that the person that is there afterwards is the way they want to be, not the way they think about themselves today.
Interesting. And do you feel like a lot of these, we'll call them traumas or barriers, are rooted in a childhood?
Yeah, the way our change work goes, so you can do stuff in the here and now, you can do performance-based from that, but most limitations in people's mindset, becoming the best, being a high performer, it's from something that happened yesterday or sometime before. Most of what you learn and the programs you've created over time, it's pretty much before the age, on average, 7 to 9. So when I'm doing that root work with people, not always. Like maybe you started smoking, if that's what you're working on, when you were 17, which is a common age. But most other things, how you feel about you, your foundation, it's almost always before 7 to 9.
And is that because we're operating at a different wavelength, or I don't know the proper term, like theta, for example, or?
No, it's more about that when you're developing as a child and you're starting to build in, your own independence and whatever you're developing, you rely on other people. So think of it as like primal, but at the same time, who's your caregiver? It could be mom and dad, it could be grandma, it could be whomever. But whoever you give that to, that authority, you depend on them. You assume safety, you assume security, you assume that they're going to give you what you need. So if they tell you something, how would you know any different as a little kid?
Very true.
So it just kind of goes in, and we actually have this thing called the critical mind. Let's call it a doorman at a club between your conscious mind and your subconscious. It protects you. You just don't want anyone changing what you've built over the years. So that filter doesn't exist up until about 7 or 9, which is why that number's there. So before it just kind of goes in freely. The doorman's like, come on in.
Yeah.
Your mom, your dad, keep on going. And it just, good, bad, or otherwise, even if your parents have good intentions, it doesn't mean it turns out well for you. So they may be trying to protect you, but they're hurting you in the process because they didn't know any better. That's what they were taught with.
Right, yeah.
And so you carry this down. Some people talk about ancestral like cords. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Right? You're learning what they learned. You need to break that chain, and if you don't know that that's there, you never will.
Yeah.
I help you with that.
And that's where the reprogramming comes in.
That's where it does.
Yeah.
But there's so much more. Typically what I'm doing with people is I'm seeing where they're at today, working them backwards, reprogramming there, and then programming them forwards.
Yeah.
So I think you said, what else can you do? There's a lot that you can do, but you can't start with the programming forward. I know like some, self-help is read a book. It's just do this instead of that. But those behaviors come from thoughts. As I think you remember learning, it's a bit of like a flow.
Yeah.
You can't just do a different behavior if the thoughts that create those behaviors are in the way. So you have to work it backwards, update those thoughts, and then move it forward. So it's always backwards, improve, and then move forwards.
Yeah.
That's the work we do. Psychotherapists, psychologists, all of that is about looking back so that you can, in a sense, heal, repair. I'm not allowed to use that term, heal, but there's a lot of that going on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I just can't say it. You have to do that work first, so that you can move forward.
Yeah. And so now that, let's say, so that past work is done, you've emptied the cup, now you're able to fill it up
Right.
with the good stuff. What are some present things in the present moment, in the day to day, that we can do every single day to start building and creating that better life and vision for ourselves?
Right. I like the way that you use the word vision, because it's kind of like so many people are so bombarded every day with who they're supposed to be and what they need to do, that they haven't really thought about themselves maybe ever. They put themselves second, 25th, and a lot of the work is trying to see you. Who are you? What do you want? If you did have all this time, or you were great at whatever you're seeking to be great at, what would you do with that? What does that person look like? Have you ever thought about them? What would that change be? So when you talk about vision, it's not a vision board of what you want to own and all these doings. It's, who are you? Who do you want them to be? Like, are you more fit? Are you more calm? Can you just have a conversation? Can you go to your parents and not get angry at mom or dad because, well, that's who they are?
Yeah.
What can you do? So as you're being in this moment where you're asking those questions of yourself, you're giving yourself the presence to have that conversation and really start, I don't want to even say dreaming. You're starting to think about them. You're starting to imagine who is that better version of you. And like maybe fantasize even a little, like go deep. And most people don't. They haven't even thought about that. I'll get there. I'll do that next week. I'm so busy at work. I can't do this. My girlfriend, my boyfriend, like, you know what I mean? There's something there.
Yep.
And so when you give yourself that presence and you think about them, they actually become your goals. They actually become where you need to go, and they actually teach you who you need to be. So it's not what you need to do, it's they're teaching you who you need to become. So think about them, dream about them, they're a better version of you. So as you're doing that and you're starting that process, it's not a vision board as much as it is thinking about them. And once you're done thinking about them and they start to carve out that conversation in your mind about what's next, why don't you have a conversation with them?
And by them, you mean your future self, or
Yeah.
the ideal self for you?
Yeah, so you're thinking about your ideal self, your future self.
Yeah.
And that's a moving target, right? That's a beacon in the future. But once you're thinking about them, the next is have a conversation with them. So once you can picture them, you're imagining them. Part of the work I do is it's called future pacing. It's now that all the work is done, if you were to meet your future self or as you become that new version, have a conversation with each other. What do you need to be different or focus on today that would allow that to be possible?
Yeah.
And so there's stuff you have to let go of. It's always one of these three things. There's either something you need to let go of. There's things you need to, that you've learned that are so great for you. You don't want to just become someone different. You want to take all that good stuff and bring it where you're going. And then there's always gaps. Gaps are the things you need to learn, and it's okay to learn. That's part of what your brain is asking you to do, grow. So with those three things, as you're doing that, your future self guides you. I help you get there. I connect you with your future self and know kind of the process, but they're your best guide. If you give yourself the time to see them, to talk to them, to ask the questions, they'll have the answers that you don't.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer on this too.
Yes.
So how can one iron out or define what their future self looks like? Let's say they have a hard time believing that they can do big things, for example. Again, that's a them versus them battle.
Yes.
But how can they iron out what that future self looks like? And then in order, now they see it, now they can start talking to them and maybe start closing the gap for themselves on getting there. How can they do that?
I think one of the approaches is practicing presence. Some people refer to it as mindfulness. When you practice something like self-hypnosis, it gives you an opportunity to be in the moment, but most people aren't. So practicing being in the moment has many benefits, as I know you know, but it could be anything. So it's not as specific as you must do this. I think it's practicing being present. As we're here, I'm not thinking about what's for lunch or what's going on with me tonight. It's me and you, and that's all it is. Most people aren't. They're already on to the next thing for fear if they don't get this done, or the stress or what will happen, or their to-do list. That doesn't allow them to enjoy. That doesn't allow them to capture and see. That's the beginning. And that's really uncomfortable for people. So sometimes sitting and doing nothing, really doing nothing, is your start. If that's uncomfortable for you, you now know that you have this challenge in being still. And that's kind of an interesting sensation. But so many people have learned to go, that they've created a new level. You've talked about flight or fight before. They've learned, their nervous system has learned to be switched on and at a higher level. They're producing unhealthy, hormones and all that's not good.
Yeah.
But they've learned that that's normal, but that's not normal. So they have to experience what a real normal, a real balance, a real calmness and presence can be before they can start to recreate their normal.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that for sure. Like I've
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we all are, but I think just being conscious is like the first step.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I operate best under pressure for me. There's times where I learned how to enjoy it now.
Yes.
But there's times where I might have some time in the day.
Yes.
So I usually stack it.
Yes.
And then it's like, what do I do? I'll even at nighttime I'll try and watch a movie.
Yeah.
And I can't because I'm just
Yeah.
like, what else can I do for work? Like what,
Right.
But now I've learned enjoy the moment. Simple things like me put my phone in another room so it's
Yes.
not around me, so I don't get distracted. And then once you're able to like drop into that present moment, it's really nice.
Yeah. I think what you're not giving yourself if you don't is you're always on to something else. And if you're always on to something else, you're never really in what you're in. So imagine if you're at home, you're with your girlfriend, how do you actually enjoy that relationship? You're on the phone, you're thinking about something else. How do you actually get the good stuff, let alone the bad stuff? So to your point, if you have 3 minutes, maybe you don't fill it with something that takes 20, because most people try to do that.
Yep.
You just enjoy the 3 minutes. Maybe you actually stop and ask yourself, I know this sounds silly, but look at a tree and try to see a tree as though it's the first time you've ever looked at it. We are told what a tree is. We are told what it's supposed to look like, smell like, and other. There's information everywhere. What it means to be a good real estate agent, what it means to excel, what it means to be a high performer. Same thing here. Who do you want to be? It's not just what role you play.
Yeah.
You got to take a step back and allow yourself to be in that and start asking different questions.
And now in terms of things to reprogram the brain or to train it, let's say journaling, maybe writing out your goals or visualizing or a combination of the two. Before I even get to that, like how powerful is the subconscious?
I would say it runs everything.
Right.
So I would say if you're going to give an example of how it works, you maybe have heard of the whole like iceberg analogy, 10%, whatever the number, 10 and 90. Your subconscious always wins. So do you remember I told you about that critical mind that's in the middle?
Yep.
So people are looking at this conscious mind and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to be the best agent out there. But the moment they say that, whether it's somebody else's voice or it's become their voice, that's their subconscious talking. Habits, doubts, programs that exist under there that are not in alignment with their conscious interests. So to be conscious of this, that's awareness, that's desire-based. But in order to pursue that, aside from getting past that critical mind, which is the work I do to help you get past it, you got to improve your subconscious. It always wins. So that's why when some people are like, but I've gone here, I've tried this work, do that work in the subconscious space, and you'll probably have a better outcome.
And it's crazy how accurate like I've had crazy things happen to me in my life. For example, I read Think and Grow Rich at a young age. I read it multiple times, and just like the whole chapter on the power of the subconscious and writing out in detail what you want every single day. You start believing it as if it's already happening currently, presently. I don't know how to explain it, but things just happen.
Yeah.
And they fall in your lap somehow.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't believe it. Do you believe in the whole universe? I know you believe in the whole universal thing, but
I do. I think what you're touching on is a number of different avenues. So there's there's your personal self, there's your higher self, there's, let's call it higher powers or concepts, consciousness, whatever you connect with. In the end, I think it's about, back to what you said, moving towards a better version of you. And I think that's a progression. So an ascension, however you want to look at it based on what you believe in. I do. And so journaling or allowing yourself to see yourself, like I said, the awareness piece, that's good. I wouldn't say journal just for the sake of journaling. I think that that's something that's like a check mark. I think the idea of journaling with intent, if that's what it is, or a vision board with intent, gives you the ability to have those conversations with yourself. Some people write letters, and this can be useful inside of a journal technique. Write letters to the younger you, or to the you that had a crap meeting a week ago and handle it a certain way when you could handle it differently. or to your future self. So you can use the idea of journaling to get what's in your mind, not just as a mental dump, but like a real connective conversation. And the more you do that, the more it's in front of you.
Yeah.
That allows you to be present. The more that it's in front of you allows you to be focused. And you've probably heard this before, but energy, emotions, energy and motion, that is that. You're kind of getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't help.
Yeah.
And you're bringing forward all the stuff that does. So if you're focused on that and you're putting it on paper, if that's how you do it, and that's what you see and that's what you bring in and that's what you ask for, then how could you not get more of it?
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't. They're trying to hid away all the stuff that's in their life that they don't want. They're focused on what they don't want. Ask somebody, this is the greatest thing, ask somebody what they want, and they almost inevitably will respond to you with what they don't want.
Yeah.
That's how they're programmed.
Exactly.
They don't see what they want, they see what they don't. So what does your brain say? It focuses on what you tell it. So if you're still focused on what you don't want, you're going to get more of what you don't want. My goal is to, in part, help you reprogram how you see a situation so that it can help you move forward. So you're going to see not that everything's rainbows and sunshine, but the positive side of things, the understanding that it can be empowering or it can help move you this way on what you do want, not what you don't.
And I think there's something to say about, as you continue this practice, you will operate on a higher frequency.
Yeah, so if we're talking energy-based, there's ways to play with this. So if you're sleeping, you can listen to, like you were talking about, theta music, delta waves. You can do that to help you with sleep. These are some physical, functional things you can work with that kind of are welcomed or helpful to your brain. But you yourself are in control. I think that's probably another foundational piece of what can people do for all of this, from past to your future. Believe that you're in control, that you have the ability to create a different outcome, that you don't have to hope for anything, that you have the power to do that. That sometimes scares people because now that means responsibility. Now that means, what am I going to have to do? Can I? And all those previous doubts come in. But you can also look at it as that's an opportunity. And that opportunity is something that no one knows better than you.
Yeah.
No one knows better than you what you want, but you need to give yourself the time and space to start bringing that into your life, and you own that.
Yeah.
What an exciting opportunity that is.
For sure. So what about, let's say someone is maybe transitioning into this mindset and space. Okay, cool. I'm ready to do the work. I believe in myself, but they're in an environment, whether at home or wherever, which is really negative, around energy suckers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's something that they can do? Maybe maybe they just can't get into that elevated state because they're just constantly being drained.
That becomes kind of situational or specific, but I appreciate that. In the world of smoking, I have to be quite honest. Most people who are with other people who are smokers, they have to have, I guess, a greater internal intent and a reason for doing it, because if they're there, they're going to be kind of enabling them, and it becomes a lot harder. So that's part of my consult that I have with them, to kind of see where they're at and how serious they are and what's in their environment today where they're at that may or may not help make this as a tool effective for them. In the world of weight loss, it's about having a foundational conversation or anything else to kind of, again, see where they're at. What could they do? I think more than anything else, it's about, when we have that conversation, that consult that I offer for free to make sure you're where you need to be for you, is seeing how serious you are about what you're ready to do. Because people say they are.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't think they know, but like I think you mentioned, personal trainer for the mind. I don't make anyone do anything. In fact, that's a misnomer of hypnosis. That's television. I can't make you do anything. I help you do what you need to do that you don't know how to yet, in a way that guides you.
Yeah.
And so for you to get to a place, I've seen people who don't have space and time, which is part of their issue. Somebody's home, I don't have space, I never have time, I can't get it. I ask them if they have a car. I've done sessions with people in a car.
Yeah.
I've done sessions in the corner of a room. They've been in a park. So I find out if there's an opportunity for them to get outside of their norm so that they can do something that's really important to them. I also get them into a position to see how important it is so that they get to start giving themselves what they haven't been giving them. So If they need to sleep better, are you ready to have a different conversation with your spouse or partner, whoever it may be, because your sleep changes everything.
Yeah, so tell them to stop snoring, tell them to, stop kicking you.
This becomes a boundary conversation, and it could be 40 years. I haven't had a good night's sleep in 40 years because you're snoring. There are options. And people assume that this is the way it's going to be. It's not true. You've got boundary challenges, or you've got doubts or fears or feelings or anger, or all of them all layered that prevent you from ever having that conversation.
Yep.
I will help you tackle all of those. Kind of, not, I don't want to say delete them because that's another misnomer.
Yeah.
I can't make the past not there. I remove the emotional impact from you. I help you see it differently. I reprogram how you're going to approach it so that you do, and so that you get more of what you want.
Yeah. So or else that stuff can linger forever.
It often can and does.
Yeah.
And people end up saying, well, I guess that's just the way it always is. I guess that's who I am.
That's
and that, when I hear that, that's a resistant comment.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity to recognize resistance. But the question to any potential client or existing one is, do you really want this? And are you ready? And if the answer is no, then I meet them where they're at, and I let them know that I'm always here to help them on their journey. But that's what this is. We're all just kind of trying to unlearn and relearn and become the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
I think really one situation, one relationship, one step, one job at a time.
Yep. I agree. Well, Steve, you've been awesome.
Thank you.
And you're looking at me like, we're done?
Yeah. Has it been what?
Oh, yeah.
already?
We at least fly by, especially when we're having fun and having good conversations. But always blown away by your knowledge and what you're able to do. So thank you from a personal level. And I'm sure a lot of people got value today too. But so anyone out there that is maybe wanted to get in contact with you, because you do not do the social media stuff.
No, most of the stuff I do is referral based.
Yep.
Most of the stuff is really just kind of it's a little coveted. It's fully confidential so that people can feel comfortable, even, having a conversation in the next room with somebody.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And kudos for you for keeping it like that. So where can they find you if they want to reach out?
The best way really is phone number or my website. I'm happy to leave it right here.
Yeah?
Yeah. So you can reach me on my phone number at 416-450-3171, or on my website. You can book a free consult, which I offer to everybody, at buildingbetterbridges.ca.
Awesome. We're going to post everything in our bios and all our links as well.
Yep.
But you've been awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Love hearing you speak. I'm sure you might have got a movie role right now too. Morgan Freeman. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
And to everyone out there.
Voiceovers, bring them my way.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's another tool in the shed. And to everyone out there who always tunes in and supports, we love you. Thank you so much. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, family, and your pet gorilla. And we will see you on the next one. Take care.